This episode is sponsored by the Tiltcats, which can be found at tiltcat.com. Also on Retrospective.info, which is a weekly podcast about video games, right along with some reviews that can be found over on their website. The Carousel Podcast, which can be found at thecarouselpodcast.com. Also a weekly podcast, which can also be found on Retrospective.info. But not only does it cover video games, also music, movies, and comics. So check them out.
We've been rather busy in your absence. Wake up and smell the ashes.
Valve Corporation, also known as Valve Software or Simple Valve, was founded by former Microsoft employees Gabe Newell and Mike Harrington on August 24, 1996, and in November of 1998, Half-Life was released by Sierra Studios, and then for the PS2 on November 14, 2001. On its release, critics hailed its overall presentation and numerous scripted sequences, and it won over 50 PC Game of the Year awards. Its gameplay influenced the design of first-person shooters for years after its release, and it is widely considered to be one of the greatest computer games of all time. Half-Life, ported to the PlayStation 2, was developed by Gearbox Software. This version of the game had a significant overhaul in terms of both character models, weapons, and more advanced and extended levels and general map geometry. Also added in is a head-to-head play and a co-op expansion called Half-Life Decay that allowed players to play as the two female scientists, Dr. Cross and Dr. Green, at Black Mesa. Another interesting feature allowed players to use a USB mouse and keyboard, a feature previously unmatched on the platform. As the players, you assume the role of Dr. Gordon Freeman, a physicist who must fight his way out of a secret underground research faculty whose research and experiments into transportation technology have gone horrible wrong. As Freeman awakens from pushing a non-standard specimen into the scanning beam, Freeman finds himself in a ruined test chamber and surveys the destroyed lab strewn with the bodies of scientists and security personnel. Finding survivors, Freeman learns that communication lines to the outside world and are completely cut, and is encouraged to head to the surface for help because of his HEV suit. His journey consists of sidestepping Black Mesa's structural damage and defending himself against hostile parasites suddenly teleporting into the area. Other survivors along the way claim that a rescue team has been dispatched.
They're coming to rescue us. Of course, I have my doubts that we'll live long enough to greet them.
Only to discover that the Hazardous Environment Combat Unit, which has taken control of Black Mesa, is killing both the organisms and the employees there as part of a government cover-up. Freeman fights the Marines before reaching the surface of Black Mesa, where he learns that scientists from the Lambda complex may have the means to resolve the problems created by the Cascade. Freeman travels to the other end of the faculty to assist them. After meeting the remaining personnel, Gordon is told that the satellite he launched failed to reserve the effects of the resonance cascade because an immensely powerful being on the other side of the rift is keeping it open. Freeman must kill this being to stop the wave of Exen parasites. The scientists activate the teleporter, and Gordon is transported to Exen. In a vast cave on Exen, Freeman confronts a godlike, semi-physical entity maintaining the rift and destroys it. As it dies, it explodes in a giant green blast which knocks Freeman unconscious. Freeman awakens, stripped of his gear, in the presence of the G-Man, who has been watching over Gordon. Appearing at least once in each chapter, the G-Man praises Freeman's actions in Exen. He explains that his employers, believing that Gordon has limitless potential, have authorized him to offer Freeman a job. He is also given a choice to refuse, but is told that should he refuse this offer, he will be given a battle where he has no chance of winning. While this is taking place, the scenery they are standing in tram cars from the beginning of Freeman's day. Flying through the multiverse, after accepting the screen goes black, and the G-Man is heard to say, "Wisely done, Mr. Freeman. I will see you up ahead." Players who decline G-Man's offer find themselves unarmed and surrounded by hordes of hostile creatures as G-Man says, "Well, it looks like we won't be working together. No regrets, Mr. Freeman." Half-Life's story is told entirely by means of scripted sequences, keeping the player in control of his or her first-person viewpoint. In the line with this, the game has no cutscenes, and the player rarely loses the ability to control Gordon. For the most part, the player battles through the game alone, but is occasionally assisted by non-player characters, specifically security guards and scientists who fight alongside the player, assist in reaching new areas, and impart relevant plot information. Next week we'll be looking at the expansions as we move on to the end of Half-Life Retrospective.
Wisely done, Mr. Freeman. I will see you up ahead.